So let's go. Who's starting?
Okay, welcome back then, Matthew.
Welcome back, Louie.
Yeah, how are you doing?
I'm doing all right. Well, it's a Monday morning, so that comes with a social sense of, well, what does it come with? I think for me, anxiety is one of the issues that I've definitely, I'm going to say, suffered with. It's less of an issue now, but still, when you come back to a Monday morning, there's a sense of, that feeling of, when you have work to be done, deciding what's worth doing, what's it all about. So it does raise existential questions.
Sure.
Which is about, what do I do with today?
Right.
And rightly or wrongly, Louie, I have chosen to spend at least some of it with you.
Oh, aren't we all lucky, everybody?
I feel the warmth. Not that I'm feeling under duress or anything, but still. No, so that's how I am. One thing I was going to maybe at least begin this one with, just because again, we keep saying there's a genuine sense of we don't know where we are. We think we're about maybe episode 13, 14.
Unlucky for some, could be 13.
If it is 13.
Something like that.
But still, and I just thought maybe without a clear sense of what we talk about next, one question I could ask back to you or ask of ourselves is, what have we learned so far? I don't mean let's do a summary of everything we've talked about, but do we feel as though we've started to sort of chip away at least some of this, our existential angst, our questioning of, at least we're getting a sense of what the questions are we want to explore?
It's a good question. I mean, obviously, we're both coming at this from slightly different perspectives. I mean, I'm in a slightly more, say, entrenched position whereby, I kind of feel a little bit like I've worked through my angst a little bit, and I see the great existential questions, but, they don't necessarily pain me. I mean, yes, the absurdity of the universe annoys me, fucks me off, whatever, however you want to censor this. But, I'm kind of... and recently, for example, I've been turning it inwards, and looking at my own illusory being, and what does that mean for an illusory being to question existence, and I think you, on the other hand, I somewhat feel like am I trying to convince you that to see things from my point of view? I mean, look through the telescope and see things my way. Is it working? Not sure. Not sure that you're, I mean, I think you said a few things the other day, but can I teach you anything? Is there anything to be taught? I mean, can you learn anything from me? I don't know. I don't know if you feel that there is. I don't know. But certainly, you like coming along for the ride, but I think I'm skeptical whether you're going to come to my way of thinking. But it's a fun process. I mean,
I think I say that's why, in terms of what have we learned so far, is I find my head just goes to phrases come into my head. I catch myself with them. I then do this little bit of a caveat saying, whatever comes to my head, it may be rubbish, it may be just trivial. If nothing else, what I'm learning is it's good to talk. It's good to talk with you, Louie, because you and I did spend some time together now 12 or so years ago, and we've had a long period of time when we haven't communicated, we haven't chatted about things for a variety of different reasons. So to find an opportunity now to kind of just link up again and talk about the stuff that matters to both of us, whether we're coming at it from a different angle or not, and whether or not we've have come to different conclusions or not. One thing I think I've learned is it's great to express and talk about this stuff, to deal with whether it's existential angst, existential pondering, being pissed off or fucked off that things are the way they are. Or for me, I'm still very much this idea of, as an individual faced with the question of, I wake up each morning with a sense of what's worth doing today. That's something, no matter whether you describe yourself as somebody who's into this stuff or not, you face that question every day. And you've got different ways of doing it. And many of us on a Monday morning go, it's Monday morning, to use a Basil Fawlty term, beats me, we're stuck with it, I suppose. We just get up, have a shower, get dressed, and get on with it. Some of us then are fortunate enough, whatever term you want to use there, to be filling our days with things which we happen to just find enjoyable, fulfilling, meaningful, whether it's illusory or not. We kind of feel as though, at the end of the day, that was a day worth doing. I changed a few people's lives. I explored something that was fun. Felt exhilarated. I laughed, I cried, whatever it might be. Something happened. And many of us, for many days, particularly as a working day, go, no, I just did the job. I did what I had to do so I could take home this salary or this wage packet in order to pay the stuff, and I'll do it all again tomorrow. And if I'm lucky, I'll get to a weekend, have a day or two off, and do something different, and then do it all again. And it often feels as though there's little kind of development. I suspect a lot of people in that space. Now, again, I would massively welcome comments. People say, no, Matthew, you got it all wrong. You know, actually, many of us are leading enormously fulfilling lives with everything that we do. And here's how you do it. And I think I do have a model. I do have an understanding of how one does it, as in doing the stuff that you love, following your passion, all those kinds of ideas. Yet it comes with a real challenge of how you still face with the reality of the things that, in quotes, have to get done, or things that you've signed up for,
sure,
a job, whatever it might be. So I'm finding at the very least, if nothing else, even though you might not see it as this, our conversation today may act as effectively a pep talk for me, whilst you might not be saying, come on, Matthew, do this, do that, do whatever, being allowed some space for me to have a bit of a rant at the world, at this, the universe, at me, myself,
sure,
is a helpful thing to do.
So, I mean,
come to any actual answers or not.
So let's change it up a little bit then.
Okay.
So something that comes into my mind is, I watched a film last year about some people who, it's in the late 19th century, and the Galápagos Islands were giving away land. And there were some Europeans, some Germans, and some English people, I think an American person, and they moved to the Galapagos because they wanted to make a new way of being for themselves. And so they're kind of pioneer type spirit. You know, they didn't want to follow the rules as laid out by society. They didn't want to get up in the morning and go to work. You know, and these people had shops and they had jobs and things, and they packed their families up and they went to the Galapagos Islands because they wanted to live a different type of life. Now, a question then that comes to mind, is that the kind of thing that appeals to you then, Matthew?
I'm not necessarily at the point, well, yes and no, as in, yes, it does. That is inspiring. People say, you know what, fuck this. There are other ways of doing things, and there are almost, if not an infinite number of ways of doing things. There's a very large number of ways of doing things. We tend to go down the route that we've kind of used to, that we're comfortable with. So anything where someone says, you know what, I'm not doing that, I'm doing something quite different, is in itself inspiring. So that side of it appeals to me. Whether it's a case of just sod everything, I'm going to pack it all up and go to somewhere. It's not that I've got a clear idea in my head of where I'd want to go to, but even in the context of this planet on which we find ourselves, yes, in the grand scheme of things, it's a very small place, and I'm reminded of the phrase pale blue dot, as in with this pale blue dot on the outer realms of the Milky Way and so on. In the grand scheme of things, it's an insignificant piece of dust. Yet within our everyday life, it's actually quite a big place to explore, and we spend lots of our time in the same place. Now, whether or not that's in the same house, in the same room, on the same sofa, or even if we are doing a job where we commute up and down the same piece of road to the same little box office to do a little something and come back again, box at home. We pick a little bit of the world to spend a chunk of our time. And I feel as though there's a world out there, at the very least, I'd like to explore more of. I haven't done lots of traveling. I didn't do that classic gap year where students or kids, if they're fortunate enough to or choose to, say, okay, I'm going to go off traveling. And then either they come back and go to university, or say, do you know what, traveling actually is more interesting, and I've discovered a lot more than I ever would sitting in a little room somewhere at some university, in quotes, learning or listening about something or reading. You know, so there's part of me about, by going off and doing something different, exploring. Now, whether or not it's a case of going off and sort of setting up a new way of living, and lo and behold, X generations down, you've kind of done the same thing. You've said the same civilization with the same kind of rules and all that stuff. I'm not quite at the point where we need a brand new utopia. I'm just feeling my own sense of there's something in my own individual life I can shift so I can feel as though I'm doing something more fulfilling, has more sense to me, more enjoyable. Dare I say it, sorry to be vulgar, earning more money. But that's something that's affecting me as a middle-aged man, that I would like to now feel as though I have some more financial resources. So all those kinds of questions we face. So again, I'm rambling, going away.
No.
Does that kind of thing appeal to me? Up to a point, yes, it does.
So then are we dealing with risk? I mean, one of the things that you and I were discussing over the last couple of days is poker, for example. And poker is a game whereby, you know, especially like a tournament poker, where you lay down, say, you know, $10,000, and some of the people at the end of the tournament are getting back, you know, $200,000, $800,000 in return. But other people have lost out. You know, that your winnings are the losses of other people. And is there a concern that, you know, if you make a gamble, is it the risk outweighs the possible pot? I mean, is it that being an adult, it's hard to gamble?
Yes, there's part of that. There's part of me thinking, well, a bit of a been there and tried that. So I'm currently working as a full-time academic. And when you and I worked together, Louie, that we were at another university in Liverpool Hope University. And I ended up being there for 10 years. So it was 2009 where I eventually left, and I left without a job to go to. So I do realize that I got to the point where, and I use the phrase even to my then employer, my heart is no longer in it. I can do this. I can still carry on and do what's needed, the basic requirements, and take the salary, thank you very much. But I got to the point saying that didn't feel right. I felt as though there was a whole world out there to explore. I need to have a go at trying to do it, whatever it might be. And unless there is some offer to kind of keep me here that makes it almost very appealing, and I can get every opportunity to do that, it never came. So, okay, I'm going to hand in my notes and I'll go off and do something else. So yes, I took risk there, and it brought both good things and bad things, as in challenges, and changed things that needed to be changed in lots of positive and negative ways. And now, how many years later, so we're now 8 years later, I'll be now 5 years in another academic job, which I was kind of reluctant to do. It was initially a half-time, part-time post. Thought, yeah, I can do that. That gives me some income, because I needed income. I gave me some space to maybe do other things, whatever they might be. And then quickly, in about a month, the offer became, well, actually, you can make it full-time, so essentially double your money or your income from that job. And I thought, do I really want to do it again? And I did. And next thing I know, I'm now full-time doing it. And whilst there's a lot more about this particular role, which is far more rewarding, and teaching in areas that I find inherently interesting, I'm working with people that I kind of have a lot of time for and I care for and so on. I'm working with students who are more motivated. They're typically master's students as opposed to undergraduates. That's a joke, as in a lot of undergraduate students are doing things like we all have done because, again, they're not really thinking about it. They feel as though what they need to do is go and get a degree. So you start questioning the worth and the value of what are we doing when we turn up for these sessions and teach whatever it is we're teaching? What's the real point? What's the real value of it? Given that for all of us, there's a big world out there we could be going to explore and doing something with. So that's why I have been there, and I'm finding myself, in a similar situation. Yet I do not feel now able to or willing to make the same decision again, saying, all right, guys, you know what? Fuck this. I'm going to hand him a notice again and let's see what happens. Bit of a, no, try that. This time it's more a case of I'm going to hang on to that salary as long as I really can, because that will give me some, in quotes, security or opportunity. But I'm trying to find ways in which I can say, okay, then can I do what I needed for that salary and do a good job? And at the same time, what else can I do with this world around me? What else can I do that's meaningful and purposeful and fun?
And do we do you have an idea then? Is there something, I mean, looking prospectively, is there something that you would like? Because I seem to remember, correct me if I'm wrong, I remember you saying you did something when you were, much younger, when you're a much younger man, to do with NASA or something. You kind of did something like that. NASA? Is that wrong? Am I wrong there? Space? Like me? No. NASA? No. You didn't try to do something with NASA?
No.
That must be some other Matthew Smith.
You might be thinking of Doctor Who.
It is a common name after all. All right. Well,
no. Sounds like, should I have been? Maybe it was an alter ego. Maybe I did it without knowing. No. So space exploration is not in and of itself being one of my things. But I think in some ways, yes. In some ways, part of it is not knowing what is the thing I'd love to do, because you can talk about things that you just enjoys doing. For example, I enjoy talking to you.
Right.
I am. I enjoy talking to you in particular because we can be very open with each other, both in the context of these podcasts and when we have just other conversations. You know, you're very open with me. We can talk openly about a whole range of things. That in itself is a valuable experience, and I enjoy doing it. And particularly about this kind of stuff, it means that, yeah, I enjoy talking about and exploring those bigger questions. And I enjoy I enjoy teaching now more than I would have done 10 years ago, teaching more of the stuff that I think is of interest. And even now thinking, well, I'm wondering if it's the less academic stuff. Because when you work in academia, whether it's the teaching or the research, which are the two main bits of activity that you're involved with, there is a sense of, you know, you've got to do what has some worth that others see of worth. So again, a piece of research that is worth publishing is one which are you following certain rules and are you doing something here and that. And that's my whole career has been based around that. And for many years ago, the time when you and I worked together, Louie, I was doing all the things, in quotes, I was supposed to do. We were doing research, we got funding for research, we published those to that work. Or having said that, the work we did together, we did it in a conference. We didn't get to that journal publication that science says you're supposed to aim for. That's what makes it count. And after a while, you get sick of doing things for other people for reasons that aren't your own sense of, I'm doing this because it has its own sense of importance to me.
But do you know
people who can do something like that and make it pay have got it sussed?
I mean, I remember when we worked together, I absolutely loved coming to work. You know, I was doing exactly what I had planned to do since before I was 16 or so. And every day for me was, you know, an exploration into the unknown of, you know, parapsychology for me was a form of exploration, you know. So, I mean, I absolutely loved, you know, my job and what we were doing and research. And even if the research topic and the experiment that we were doing, you know, was not something that if I had chosen to do that, an experiment, it wasn't my number one choice. But even the experiment we were doing, the study we were doing was exploration by part. I mean, and so one of the questions that pops in my mind, you know, is there not, so could you not do research that was interesting to you? Is it that you're just not interested in the research you were doing, or is it research in general that you don't want to do anymore? Or?
Well, I could, a bit of yes and, as in yes, doing more research that's of interest. And it's understanding what that might be and how it might work. I'm doing some of that. So some of the work I'm doing within positive psychology, we have colleagues at the university which are, you know, working with, looking at how some of the ideas could be helpful. So we have a PhD student who's looking at positive psychology and how it may be helpful in relation to people with autism. We have another PhD student who's looking at how ideas that relate to this idea of grit, which essentially is passion and perseverance, can be taught to students. So anything's in an educational context there. So absolutely, there is stuff there which has meaning, and it's that part of it which draws me in. And even with the master's students, again, you know, it's still with it. There's a sense of, you have marketing that needs to be done, you have preparation that needs to be done, you're working again within what the university sort of tells you should be doing. And it's just for me, after a while, I realized that sometimes it just feels like a constraint. So those people who are either continuous academics or eschew academia to go a more so-called popular route, are the ones which, they're able to then write the books that they just find they want to write, doing the research they want to do, the teaching they want to do, often more and more in their own terms. And it's probably down that route that I would go if I able to, you know, focus, explore, you know, take steps towards it, maintain what I'd like to do, and don't just prioritize the things which often stop me from doing those things. And that's why in academia, again, and often in education generally, people feel overworked. And then sometimes I go, well, it's not so bad compared to others who really do have a lot of hard work to do. But I think it's about, because I can have lots of autonomy, it's how you use that wisely to feel as though, right, well, how can I make sure I'm doing what's required in order to justify the salary? Because there's part of me thinking, if I'm going to take a salary, I would like to do a good job. People aren't saying, yeah, you're getting paid here, but mate, you're not pulling your weight. And doing something which I think is actually more inspiring to myself and may actually inspire students and others, because you are saying to people, sometimes you've got to stop, ask these questions and say, what's really important to you? Which is what we do in positive psychology. We ask students to focus on their assignments, to say, which part of this area is drawing you in, what are you passionate about? Focus your assignment there, rather than us giving you an essay title. And that's about life, isn't it? It's saying, rather than be given, here's what your life should be about, it's saying, well, what are you being drawn to? What sets your heart on fire? What's really you passionate about? What fires you up? Then that's where you should focus on your research or your ideas or your studying. Because that, for me, is what it's all about.
So on that note, are we ending this little? I kind of make that about 20 minutes or so.
Yeah, let's
should we
pause at that point, because he's rambling quite a lot. And
no,
pick up some of these things in the next one.
I mean, I think people who go to work are going to be listening to that going, well, I think I should slit my wrist, really.
Really? Is it that defensive?
No, not at all. I'm only joking.
People that go to work. Well, that'd be many people who do
yes.
need to go to work, Louie.
Yes. Okay.
And it may be, I think part of the message isn't saying, look, it's depressing. Part of it is, so I hope we'll still keep this to the end of this episode. But if we're going to end on an up, is, okay, if you're one of those people that wakes up on a Monday morning and goes, oh, got to do it all again today, then you've got to then, pick up this idea of, you do get to choose what you do today. It may feel as though you don't. You may feel as though no, little choice. I've got to go down to this place of work and do this stuff. You can either choose not to go in for a variety of reasons. For many people, that could feel a bit of a step too far. You can still choose to go about your job in a way that you bring, let's use the phrase, the best of yourself to it. So it may well be exploring, well, what is really important to me? Can I bring some of this into my job today? And then a bit more tomorrow, and so on. And it may eventually mean that you're developing other ways of doing stuff alongside what you're normally doing. And it may take you away from that job. Because I think it is about, we have what's the equivalent of a blink of an eye of existence on this planet. And if, as you would argue, and I can see the argument, Louie, that you'd live, you die, and that's oblivion, and there was no point to any of it, then we are faced with that question of, what do we do with the days that we have? What can we do to fill it with something that has meaning, passion, purpose, enjoyment? And if we can't do that, the sense is we're doing it wrong. I think many of us are doing it wrong. So there is a sense that we can do something about it, and it takes a decision, a choice in the moment to explore something, to make it better, as opposed to, as many of us might do, going, oh, never mind, we close off, we just carry on as we are, and we lose that part of ourselves, which actually is what's really important to us. So on that note, we'll end.
All right then. Well, bye-bye later.
Yeah. Till next time.
Bye.